But if you just got into poker and you really consider playing poker and you're not sure whether you're ready or not, there are a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you right now. And if you're not able to answer one of the questions, you're not ready. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. And today I want to talk a little about the current situation, how the coronavirus impacts poker. I don't want to talk about the coronavirus itself because I think the experts should talk about it, but it certainly has an impact on poker. I wouldn't necessarily call it a boom. I would say it's a little bit of a push, and we have to wait until the situation normalizes and whether the numbers and what we currently experience is sustainable. And I get a lot of messages, people asking me, hey Ben, I've been playing poker for several years. I took a break for some time. Is it now a good time to get back into poker?
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
I would assume that a lot of these players are like break-even players, maybe slightly losing, or even beginners. They have heard, oh, there's a new poker boom and maybe there's a good opportunity. However, I want to warn you, and there are a lot of factors that are not so obvious that you need to take into consideration to not lose your money. And as I said, I get a lot of messages, and I think a lot of players now believe they just can crush their opponents. The fields have gotten clearly softer. On Sundays, the guarantees are bigger. You can see a lot of new players, and of course, it will make the fields significantly softer. And this might draw the picture in your mind that you can just come back, or you can just get into poker and outplay your opponents. But you have to put more thought into it. So, and especially for those who have been winning some money in the past, so your ego is already has a little bit of validation, and now you think, oh wow, the fields are so much softer. Let's jump right into it without studying, without more thorough thought on bankroll management or variance, and this can backfire a lot. And I will elaborate on that. The problem is the following. Let's say you're a break-even player and you intend to come back to poker. Yes, of course, you will have a higher win rate. You might have 5% ROI now, or you have 10% ROI now. The problem is that this is still for tournament poker, and I explicitly focus on tournament poker because I haven't seen how it impacts cash game or sit and goes. I think it will also impact those formats, but I'm much more profound when it comes to tournament poker. And what it means is that 5 or 10% is still very volatile for tournament poker, and you're going to be very susceptible for huge swings. And obviously, the higher your win rate, the lower the variance, the less likely you're going to experience downswings. And let's say everything normalizes at some point. So in 2 or 3 months, or 4 months or 6 months or whatever, and you keep grinding to take advantage of the softer fields, and you maybe win some money, that it will return to where it has been now, let's say 1 or 2 months ago, where the fields have been significantly tougher. And now let's say you won a significant amount of money. It is going to be extremely hard for you to put things into perspective. Essentially, or potentially, to withdraw and admit that you should now take a break and now start studying more often, and of course maybe concepts that you weren't aware of yet, and understanding, okay, now the games have been gotten tougher, because what you did now over the last, let's say we're November, and what you did from, let's say, April to November was just grinding, taking advantage of the softer fields. But then if it turns out that there is no new poker boom and everyone is going back to reality, I mean, it's not that I'm predicting that on November everything is going to be normalized with coronavirus. It might take a year. I don't know. Like, I'm just making assumptions here, and it doesn't really matter about the time frame. My point remains the same, and the games are getting tougher, that you're essentially then going to be a losing player again. And since you have won some money, it is going to be hard to admit to yourself because you got all the validation of winning money. You might say, nah, it's not going to happen to me. I will be prepared. No, you're not. Don't underestimate your ego. And it's very dangerous now to win the money. And guys, I'm not just saying it to make you afraid, to scare you. I get these messages of people, and I will show you a message later on as well that today triggered me to make this video, where people lose your bankroll because of overestimating their own skill and underestimating variance, bankroll management, and essentially overestimating themselves. It's incredibly tough to admit that you're basically not good enough. And if you have been a slightly minus EV or break-even player before the outbreak of the coronavirus, and then everything returns to where it has been, then you're going to be a break-even player, minus EV player once again. And you're going to continue playing because you got the validation, because you won the money. And you think you're good enough. And now it's time to continue playing. And then you're very likely going to lose it all again. So I'm not saying you should not start now and just jump into it. What I say is, once this is over, to have the ability to truly assess what is going on right now. Are the games getting tougher once again? And then having the ability to withdraw. Or what I think is much smarter, because it will also prepare you for tougher fields, is to also study enough. To not just jump into the games right now. To not just be so foolish and assume you're going to crush everyone. Take your time, study and play. Maybe for the next, and this is going to last at least a couple of months. Don't be so greedy now to think I want to have a large piece of this pie as well. No, take your time, study the game. And I will also give you some orientation. I will ask you some questions that you need to be able to answer in order for you to get back into poker. And I will share that later on in this video. If you think that you wanna take advantage of the softer fields, let me explain you something. Most people have a totally fucked up perception of their own games. I mean, you see it in YouTube comments, you see it on Twitch. I see it every day. I get tons of messages of people sharing their journey, and they're so incredibly talented and they understand the game and they're better than everyone, but they can't win the money and they're right now on a brutal downswing. And then they tell me at the end of their message, and it lasts now for 50 games. I'm like, how the fuck can you think that you're good in poker and you think you have a downswing after 50 games? I mean, this is just so delusional. And the problem is that most people think it is only about the strategic part of the game. They think, wow, they understand when to bluff, they understand when to value bet, and they play tight, and maybe they actually have a very solid approach of the game, and they see all these misplays of their opponents over and over again. But it's not. It's about the mental aspects. It's about it's of course the strategical part of the game. Don't get me wrong. It's understanding the variance. It's understanding bankroll management, and it's also important to play with a high level of focus and a high level of self-awareness. So there are a lot of aspects or a lot of areas that come into play that make you a good poker player. It's like saying, yeah, I know how to do a lot of tricks. I'm very good in dribbling, and I'm now very good in shooting, and I'm much better than everyone else in football. But after 20 minutes, you run out of stamina, right? You also need to have stamina, or you constantly punch your opponents in the face because you freak out when they tackle you and you get a red card. So you also need to have a good mindset in football. You need to, of course, have the technical abilities. You need to have strategical abilities. You need to be a team player. You need to have a good character. This all plays into the role of being a good football player. Same in poker. And so thinking you're a good poker player when having a good understanding of the strategical part of the game is just simply very, very delusional. And especially when you don't follow bankroll management, when you don't understand variance. This is just delusional. And then you suck in poker, period. And I can show you a message that triggered me making this video today. So he says there's stuff at the beginning, some intro. Of course, I don't want to share this with you. It's sensitive data. He says his bankroll is usually small, and he thinks he has, but for low stakes, he has a huge advantage by having $500. He thinks he has a big advantage on everyone. He thinks he's playing better than them, and he doesn't know anything about huge variance. He starts playing bigger tournaments. He thinks he plays better than most of the people. He loses everything. And he wants to earn back his money. So this is, of course, I'm not attacking him for, and actually it makes me really sad, because I have to tell them, you're not ready yet. You're delusional. You have to first stop playing poker, because apparently, I mean, if there's someone who just wants to gamble and play for fun, I'm not saying anything. Like, this is your own business. But if you come to me and you want to have advice, and apparently you want to approach it from a more professional standpoint, then I have to tell you that you suck. I want to be honest. I don't want you to keep playing and losing all your money because you don't understand variance and you don't understand bankroll management. Because if you play bigger tournaments that are out of your bankroll, you clearly don't have an understanding of bankroll management. So what I suggest this guy is to stop playing, because it's frustrating for him. It's frustrating to see how bad everyone else is, and he has been studying for years and he still loses everything. But I'm really wondering myself, what the fuck is he studying when he doesn't understand bankroll management and when he still doesn't understand the variance of the game? And this is here the ego is clearly a problem. And this is something that really triggered me today, and especially since I've also received all these messages over the last couple of days. People, hey, I stopped playing poker a year ago. I didn't do so well. Now the fields are softer. Should I get back into poker? It's a very common question. And yes, everyone is super happy how soft the games are. But my priority, and this is why I'm doing all this, is to show you that poker is not just a game you can start and you make money. No, you need to put in some serious work. Of course, you will have some lucky guys binging something, but these are not supposed to be your role models. It requires a lot of dedicated, highly focused work in order to gain an edge that will allow you, or that will increase your chances significantly to make money with poker. So here are 2 questions. If you now just got into poker, I mean, if you are a break-even player or used to be a break-even player, follow my advice that I mentioned at the beginning. Take your time, study more, try to significantly improve your game. Pre-flop, post-flop, especially if you haven't been into poker for a year or 2 years or for a longer period of time, update your game and study some concepts to at least catch up with everyone else, that you're not getting completely destroyed by all the other regulars. But if you just got into poker and you really consider playing poker and you're not sure whether you're ready or not, there are a couple of questions that I'm going to ask you right now. And if you're not able to answer one of the questions, you're not ready. It's also a common question, Ben, I did this and that and that. Am I ready for poker? I mean, for the strategical part of the game, I cannot tell you. But at least for the bankroll and the variance part, there are a couple of questions that you need to be able to answer in order to figure out whether you're ready for poker or not. First of all, do you understand the variance of the game you're playing? Second, do you know what downswings are possible? That means, how many buy-ins can you drop? Do you know how many games you need to get a significant sample size to assess whether you beat the game and stakes you're playing? Do you know, and more importantly, understand the proper bankroll management for your game and stakes? With how many buy-ins can you move up? When do you have to move down? Do you have a bankroll management plan? these are the questions. You can see it as a checklist. And now you might wonder, where do I get the answers? Well, there is enough. There are forums, Raise Your Edge Discord, from other poker schools. You can ask people. I think there are even variants websites where you can calculate upswings and downswings. So you understand that for certain goals, you probably need 5,000 or 10,000 of games to understand or to assess whether you're a winning player or not, and it was not just a lucky streak that you were going through to make all that money, and it was actually not you being a good poker player, it was just you being lucky. Or even it's 3,000 games and you lost money and it was just unlucky, it was just a downswing and you're actually good enough to beat the games. So that will put things into the right perspective, and you understand that how many games it takes until you get let's say a somewhat decent feedback on your game, whether you're good enough or not. And if one of these questions you answer with no, and you cannot provide any data, you need to specifically answer the question with I need 100 buy-ins or I need 150 buy-ins. I mean, sit and go hyper turbos, you need more than you need in sit and go regular speed formats. In tournaments, you probably need 150 to 200 buy-ins. Depends whether you play also a lot of hyper turbos and turbos, or if you play more softer and slower structures such as regular freeze outs. You have to sit down. You want to find out what games you want to play, and then you want to do your research on what would be a proper bankroll management. I made a YouTube video about how to build a bankroll. I touch base on all of these points in this video as well. I highly recommend you checking that out as well. I mean, of course, it is hard to get a 100% accurate answer, right? The perfect answer might be 102 buy-ins, right? But it's enough, it's sufficient to be in a somewhat in a range that protects you or prevents you from going broke, right? And you have to follow this plan, especially if you're a beginner. Don't let your ego tell you you're actually good enough. You can play also with less buy-ins on higher stakes. This will turn out nasty. This will turn into a catastrophe. You will lose a lot of money. You won't be able to play with the aggression you need in your game because you might be scared money, or you're going to be overly aggressive. You won't control your emotions as much as when you would play with a proper bankroll management. I hope this helps you. This is my thought for especially players that have been away from poker for a while or that want to get into poker. And yeah, I wish you guys to stay healthy. If you guys have anything else that you would like to contribute and give tips to some others, maybe you just have gotten into poker and you found something that really helped you to get into poker, feel free to share it in the comments. Stay healthy, guys. Stay at home, and then see you guys in the next video.